And when you actually have a plan of attack, your voice doesn't matter anymore. The way you look doesn't matter anymore. You're starting to get hungry for how to become a better storyteller. And that's what this is. This medium is storytelling. We're all just telling stories of our lives. I got something to tell you. I'm going to give you the story and you're going to digest it. Hopefully it's entertaining enough for you to subscribe to me. And that's kind of what the game is. So
welcome to the Amber Stitt Show. I'm so happy that you're here.
I have a friend of mine of many decades, Dan Levy, on the show. And I'm going to try to be very Dan in my voice and say, welcome, Dan. Go Bears.
Go Bears. Hi, Amber. How are you? It's sad when I hear you say the word we've known each other for decades.
Decades. So yeah, it's true. We could do some math, but we don't have to do that. But a million years,
I still feel like the 16-year-old kid that used to try to hang out with you in high school. You were older than me. And I was like, I want to hang out with her and her friends. And I was like, I think I'm too young for her crowd.
Okay, so now you're calling me old, but I'm embracing it because
you were the cool people. You guys
were
the cool people in high school.
Well, since we're going to go back to that era, we're talking about Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
For the record. We both don't live there anymore.
Nope.
We have friends there still, though. I think we talk about that a little bit. Did you know that girls were mean to me in high school? Did you know that?
No.
Yes. And recently I've been talking about that on panels in business because what happened through that is I would kind of downplay my energy. Did you ever think I was like pretty quiet? I mean, you didn't think that, right?
No, you were like the coolest girl that I wanted to get to know. And I was so shy. I used to be a very shy person.
Okay. I thought I remembered that. But, we've talked multiple times over the years. I think that's important, really, as we've talked about what to podcast about. And I want to talk about communication, tone, getting on the camera. You know that in our conversations that I'm like, hey, when it comes to speaking, sometimes I black out. Podcasting, I can do it. And you're like, I can help anybody, Amber. You've kind of said that, but how did you figure this out about yourself if you're going from being shy into this whole profession you've had for over a decade?
This profession I've been in for almost 25 years.
I know.
Well, I'll say this. Number one, I was just shy around you. It was you I was shy around. I was never a shy person in general.
Okay.
We moved around a lot when I was a kid. Omaha was the last place I lived before I went on my own. So I think me just being a new kid every couple of years at a school, I learned how to become friends, learned how to do what it is that I do. My parents were very outgoing people. My dad was a ventriloquist. He was involved in communities. My mom, very New York, very Jewish circles of just very entertaining people. Yeah. And my uncle was a lawyer in New York, and we were always just very East Coast boisterous people. And when I met you, I was in an awkward, kid going into becoming a man. And I was just like, I was in high school, and I was also the kid who, when his parents went away, I would throw the parties, and I was trying to get to know everybody and everybody. Yeah. So I kind of became that, but I remember I never really had problems talking to people in general, unless it was, in certain situations. And then when I finally moved out of Nebraska, my brother was in Chicago, and I was doing telemarketing in Omaha because it was the telemarketing capital.
I think we all do that. We're like, that's the first thing that you got to do in sales. Omaha Steaks, or there was a few others. I can't remember.
I think Sitel was the place I was at, but I remember getting it because it was the only job you could have in high school back then in the 90s. Yeah. Every job was minimum wage was like $7, $8, and telemarketing was like $13.
Yeah.
And that paid for all the extracurricular activity I wanted to do with my friends. And I remember I had a couple buddies that I worked with, and we were just horsing around. And by then my voice had changed, and I remember getting called to the manager's office. He's like, "Have you ever thought of doing radio?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "I was listening to your voice. You sound amazing." I was 16. He's like, you should look into radio. So before I graduated, it was my parents were moving back to New York. My brother was in Chicago. And I had a couple of interviews with a couple of broadcasting schools, and the one in Chicago that my brother was in Chicago, and he's like, "There's one right by me. There's no SAT, ACT required. All my buddies who fell out go to this school, and they end up getting a degree, and it's pretty easy." And I was like, "All right, I'll try it out, and maybe I'll move around the country and do a radio thing." And I've never left. I've covered all the major sports in town and Super Bowls, and I've met everybody I've ever wanted to meet with, and I've never had a fear of talking in front of certain people. There's only one person I was very, very shy and awkward, not just you, but Michael Jordan was the only one I couldn't say anything to, because I was like, oh my God, that's the one I've always wanted to meet, and I can't talk. I did shake his hand.
way.
I couldn't do it, but I became friends with Kobe Bryant. I became friends with Shaquille O'Neal. I became friends with a lot of these guys because my job became radio. I became a guest booker and production and voiceovers and interviewer. And through this, because radio is on and off jobs, I lose gigs, I get jobs.
Yeah.
My wife is in radio as well. She loses jobs. Yeah. She gets jobs.
Yeah.
So I've had to find my way in all kinds of different circles of sales jobs and things of that nature. And one of the things I've done was I've become a teacher at a couple of colleges and institutes here about podcasting and radio. I've started working with all kinds of, from, stay-at-home moms to professionals like you and people that are really good, like one-on-one, but then when they get in front of a camera, they're like, I'm not really sure what to do. I don't know what to say. I've always walked the line with people that are interested in doing this. And I always say, you have to first and foremost, don't think about your voice at all. Everybody gets very skittish when you hear your voice. I don't like my voice. I don't like my voice.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I love mine, but it makes me a lot of money. But with that regard, don't worry about the voice, because the voice is an instrument. God gave you an instrument of a voice. It's going to sound however it's going to sound. Get over that. If you're going to do sales and you're going to call people and you're going to be trying to network, they're already hearing your voice. They're going past your voice. No one's paying attention to your voice except for you. So you have to let that one go and let it glide over you. The getting used to the camera thing is always a thing. I'm a guy. I don't put that much effort to me to what I look like. I know women are very, very, very everything's got to be perfect to the nine. But I'll say this to you. If you were to go on TikTok, if you go on Facebook, if you go on any of these videos, and whatever you're scrolling and you see a video of somebody that you're listening to, are you really listening or watching because of what they look like or what it is that they're saying, how they're trapping you? I mean, we're now in that situation where there's a million of hot women and guys all over the world that you can see at a second of a glance through a scroll. What gets me to stay is the message. What's the bait? What are you talking about? So I always try to focus with people when they say, I want to do a podcast, and I try to flush that out with you. Okay, what's your podcast going to be? Because I'm sure you've already felt this already. You've been doing this for quite a while, so congratulations. Not a lot of people I work with can keep a podcast going as long as you have. A lot of people I talk to, they don't really flush the podcast out. What is the idea?
We'll talk about that. Unpack that, because I think you've touched on a couple really important things. You might have been in your craft, your voice, you had some humor too behind it. So just having some fun.
Yes.
So have some fun. And then I think people think that they don't have something to share. So they get kind of hyped up on their voice. Their story doesn't matter, but part of their voice and how their content, their message, people need that. We need each other's stories. And so that's what I think you're saying. Unpackage the box, like be on the podcast.
The reason why you're saying I want to do a podcast is because you have something to say. The reason I always say that radio is full of narcissists, just like myself, it's because not only do I have something to say, but it's so important I need the entire world to hear it. And it needs to be just my voice. Now, being on the radio, and I do a lot of different radio shows, and I'm a host and I'm a talk show host. I'm a radio DJ. I have to think about what's going on every day. I could talk about daily events all day, and so can you. But when you start to unpackage, like you said, the world of what you're in, you are doing a very niche content. So you have something that's ever growing. You're talking about how people can invest their money, what to do to become financially free. There is so much content with that. And then I flush it out with even more. What is so special about your content? What can we do to make yours more different than every person out there that's trying to get my attention and trying to get my money and trying to get your message? So I always try to tell people that if you're going to do this, and if you want to do the podcast, fantastic. I'm just glad you want to get in the spectrum and you're confident enough that you think you can do it. Number one, it's fun. It's fun. I'm sure you've already had it too. You probably already had a little bit of the fever. The minute you get done and people say, I listen to something, there's a rush. There's a high to it. You can't pay for that rush. You can't get paid for it. It just feels good. When you know you've hit something and you've hit on a good conversation, you feel it. It's in your bones. And once you do that, you're like, there's so much more I could do with it. But I think a lot of people just get so tied up in your own mind of what am I going to say? What am I going to say? You forget to just say it. Just turn on the mic and talk. Your phones can do it. Your computers can do it. And we all have devices around where we can record ourselves and just do it. So I always tell people, just go simple. If your first podcast, make it 5 minutes on the dot. Don't make it 4:58, 5:03, and just talk about your favorite food. Start with your first name, maybe your contact, maybe like your Facebook or whatever social media handle. My name is Dan Levy. I'm bassonair on social media. Just want to talk to you why my favorite food in the world is a steak or a burger.
Is a steak.
Or a A mac and
Is it
cheese, ice cream.
sandwiched?
I love everything. I love all foods.
I'm trying to think about the pictures I've seen, but
There's a lot. I live in Chicago. There's a lot of, look at the size of me. I'm like 100 pounds heavier than what I bet you. There's a lot of things that are out here. But again, you have people go out and then they do the 5 minutes. They go, okay, some people love that. And they go, I could have gone 10, 20 minutes. And some people say, after 2 minutes, I'm done. I don't know what else to say. And then when you do that, you go, okay, if you didn't have too much to say, well, then let's bullet point it. What else could you have done? Where else could you have gone with it? How do we open it up? And for those that are really, I could have gone 10, 15 minutes. Let's get it down to the final punches so you know what it is. And that's how you start to branch it out. And when you actually have a plan of attack, your voice doesn't matter anymore. The way you look doesn't matter anymore. You're starting to get hungry for how to become a better storyteller. And that's what this is. This medium is storytelling. We're all just telling stories of our lives. I got something to tell you. I'm going to give you the story and you're going to digest it. Hopefully it's entertaining enough for you to subscribe to me. And that's kind of what the game is. So the minute you can figure out what it is and be organized about it, the rest of it is cream cheese.
Get that frame. I mean, so if you can get to the 5 minutes, it's like you're flexing that muscle. And then you build that frame. So I know that I had 5 steps. I'm like, okay, got the 5 steps. It's going to be easy. If I black out, I'm going to go back to one of those steps.
Exactly.
And my training wheels. Like for me, I do the bios post-production because remembering people's names and all their story, I can't get to the meat of the content. I'm like really excited to get you on the show. I want to get into the juice. So sometimes for me, I cut that out, do post-production. So I don't waste time, be too fluffy.
Smart. Well, you also are good at what you do. There's a team around you and you're organized and you're at the point now where you know how to do what you got to do and things will get taken care of in different areas. A lot of people when they're starting out, it's not as flexed out as you do, but you can get there. You can get to that. Yeah. It's just a matter of you do it enough times where you're like, even I know, okay, I'm an audio production guy, so I know exactly how to make it sound good. I know exactly, I make templates and I'm a voiceover guy, so I can voice it if I need to, and I can make it sound really good. Or if I'm doing video, I've taught myself some of it, but I partner up with a guy who does video a lot better than me. So you outsource some of those things.
Like you said, that you can make it simple. You got the TikTokers, people that are really great on their cell phone. Like I have to work off my computer to really feel organized, but some people can edit and do things off their, I mean, there's so many apps. So you could start simple. You can eventually work up to a team, but you got to get over the hype of like, it's too saturated.
Thank you for tuning in to the Amber Stitt Show. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what we do. Your support goes a long way towards helping us bring you more compelling content. Remember, let's take action together. Now let's jump back into the conversation.
You mentioned something. Do you feel that, because we started talking about podcasting back in 2020, a lot of people were doing it from home and then it kind of fizzled off. I don't have the stats anymore. So do you think people, I mean, why not start a podcast? Or do you think it's too saturated?
I think it's almost to the point where if you don't have a podcast, you're wasting your time doing whatever it is. Whatever you're doing, unless you really are like, I'm so successful, I don't need to do this. I think in order to brand yourself out and to get yourself noticed and for people to recognize who you are, that's why you have so many lawyers on television. That's why you have so many like different, you've been in a car accident. There's about 90 different jingles I can sing to you because branding is, oh, I know that person. I've heard of that person. I trust that person. And trust is something that we're all trying to figure out how to get. Because once you get trust, you get loyalty. And once you get loyalty, you get money. And once you get money, it's recurring income. So I think that all kind of boils. I'm a voiceover guy. I reach out to so many people. How do people know who I am? Well, I've been on the radio for 25 years. I'm a national voice guy. I've been on every radio station in pretty much the country or some commercial somewhere or the other. And I sound familiar and I sound like somebody you've heard of before. I know my strengths and I know whatever I'm lacking in it, I know how to make up for it.
Well, let's talk about that. So if someone doesn't come in, introvert, maybe, public speaking, I think is like the number one of the worst things for people. So if they're not gifted in that, then you hire a coach or you hire someone to help you flush it out, like build the frame, and then you practice. And there's ways to do it. We can do it with just a clip-on mic, something so simple. You're seeing it everywhere. Then I think the other part of it is like a website. You're going to look up people, maybe Google My Business reviews. Maybe you're going on Yelp to look at that restaurant, like whatever it is. The podcast is something that's just, as a business person or consultant, freelancer, it's a great way for people to understand you and meet you before they might want to work with you. It could be just to learn. It could be business. I think as the hot topic being AI in 26, even 25 to 26, you talked about multiple jobs and you're like, it's cool. This is the nature of it. I think without a corporate ladder really anymore in business, if your communication skills are not continuously being improved and perfected, I think that's going to be a problem for people. This is really important for people to stay relevant into the future.
I also think that a lot of people don't necessarily understand that when you're doing a podcast, the best part about it is that you don't need to have 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes of it. It could be 5 minutes, could be 6 minutes, could be 2 hours. The content is yours to own. So if you're an introvert out there and you're not really sure what to do, get a co-host. Get somebody who's a little bit fun. Maybe the podcast is somebody interviewing you and you're just answering the questions. I've done that for clients that have paid me. There's a guy that I was working with who was big into car selling. And he's a big car sales guy, but he has no presentation skills, but he just wants to be that guy that you're watching and he's answering the questions.
Yeah.
So then I become not just the guy who's working on his podcast, but hey, tell me about what happens when somebody comes in your dealership and what's the first move you do to not scare them away? And then they go into it. So the podcasting field is whatever you want to do, whatever you want to make it, however you want to do it. I think people focus too hard on what's the name going to be? How do I advertise? Sure. How do I do this? And the other thing I tell people is do 3 podcasts that you'll never publish.
Ooh,
do 3 episodes. No one's ever going to see it because the first one is nothing but mistakes. I have no idea what's going on. I've messed up the content. The technology doesn't work. People text you 20 minutes before saying, I'm not sure if this is going to work. Do we do something else? Or the 2 others, all of a sudden you're talking about and you're like, that 3rd episode, I just figured out a better name for this. Or we just discussed something. I have a better bit. And from now on, we're going to do the top 3 of this. And also top 5s, top 3, top 7, biggest mistakes, things to know. Those will always get digested. So if you ever are like, what should I do for a podcast? What are the top 3 things a guy who's 45 years old who doesn't have a retirement, what could I do right now to set myself up for life?
There you go. Well, we've talked about that sidebar.
I know you have. That's what I'm lobbing that to you. I see your content, but I see other people talking. There's times I want to hear Amber talk. I want to hear you be the star of your podcast. So a lot of times people do interviews and you try to meet other people, but a lot of the times I want to pay you. I want to hear you.
We start with income protection, Dan, and then we bring our strategic partners in, so we got to protect that paycheck. Most people don't want to talk about insurance, Dan.
No, I got you. I'm just telling you that it's, the podcast field and the industry, it doesn't always have to be just the spotlight on other people, but the spotlight could just be that person. If someone is scared and they're not really sure what to do, they could just be, you know what, I'm going to go on for 7 minutes and I'll give you the top 3 products. 2026, water will never go out of style.
Yeah.
Here's a cool pen that has this and this. 2026, that's going to help you. Here are 3 things. Here's the biggest thing you're going to need. It could be a 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. I mean, TikToks are 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I think I see pocket casts coming out kind of as a thing. Those are more like 5 minutes. And so I think that's a good point because we talk about on the Pathways framework, we talk about focusing on talents, and that's really that first initial step. So talk about pivoting. That's really been a big thing is like the pivot. So I talk with people about how I thought like a pivot would be like a complete course correction. But if you look it up, it's really like a strategic move into enhancing something you're already doing.
Gotcha.
So I think for people working on communication skills is a key thing. And we talk about focusing on talents, and that can be really, like you said, you knew you were talented with your voice and somebody really kind of lifted you up and let you see that. So empowering others. But if you don't love a part of this, say, podcast process, well, like you said, bring other people in, do a joint project, have someone interview you. You can pay for it. There's so many ways to divvy it up. But I think what you're saying is the answer is you got to do it.
And also the answers are a lot of times, if somebody were to ask you how to do it, what would you give them advice on how to do it? A lot of times we are afraid to take our own advice and we go, oh shoot, I don't know what to do in this point. But then somebody else will say things to me and then I'll go, what if that person came to me and they asked me how to do this? What would my advice be? And then you take your own advice from there. If it's not me, who do I talk to? And there's times I ask you for advice and I'll look at all of a sudden there's like 20 text messages about what I need to do. And I'm like, I already know these things, but it sounds better because it came from you. And I'm like, oh, duh. Sometimes it needs a different person to say it to you. So a lot of times you already have answers to whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Yeah. It's just a matter of doing it. But I always say this all the time. Here's what it really is. You just have to turn the mic on.
So how do people find you, Dan, to work with you?
You can find me on social media at Bass on Air, BASS on Air, or you can get to my website with all my fun voice stuff and podcasting. danlevymedia.com.
Well, you are a perfect Pathways partner for those listening. So I really love that we finally got time together.
This is
Great.
sweet. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dan.
Later, Amber.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Amber Stitt Show. Please check out the podcast page at amberstitt.com for more episodes and content like this. Until next time, keep taking action on your unique path.